Now, I'm really excited to be bringing back Lola Adeyemo, who was the presenter and the interviewer for the previous session. So in case you were not on that session with us, Lola is the founder and CEO of EQI Mindset, with more than a decade of experience across Fortune 250 STEM companies as a scientist, supply chain expert, integration project manager, and a nonprofit organization. Lola set out to start EQI Mindset to equip corporate employees and companies to really build inclusion into their framework. So we're so happy to have her join us for this next session. She's going to be in conversation with Heather Miller, who is the founder and CEO of GrasshopHer. Heather trained with the National Ballet of Canada and the Boston Ballet before touring with such artists as LL Cool J, Shaggy, and Biz Markie. Rest in peace. After obtaining a degree in history and French from the University of Pennsylvania and a JD from the Osgoode Hall Law School, Heather indulged her love of sets and passion for designing environments with a degree in interior design from White House School of Design in Sydney, Australia. After working in talent acquisition and inclusion at McKinsey & Company in New York, Heather launched a women's mentorship app called GrasshopHer, which challenges the traditional silos of mentorship and provides better access to a community of mentors. Heather hopes that GrasshopHer will disrupt the status quo and enable girls and women alike to achieve more together. So welcome, Heather and Lola. I'm so excited to hear your conversation. I'll turn the floor over to you, ladies. Take it away.
Thank you so much.
Hi everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, and hope you are as excited for this session as I am. I got to chat a little bit with Heather, and I am looking forward to hearing you hear from her directly about the awesome work that she's doing. All right, we're going to jump right in. Hi, Heather. Would you introduce yourself and just give us a little bit of your career journey story?
Yeah, absolutely. So Heather, so nice to meet you all. I'm the founder and CEO of GrasshoppHer. I'll be very quick on this one because I think that we're going to dig into little pieces of my journey along the way here. But as was presented before, I spent a long career in ballet and hip hop, and then did my undergrad in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania. Came out with a history and French degree and didn't really know what to do with that. So went to law school, which turned out not to be the right career fit for me. So went back to school to try and indulge my creative roots again. So focused on design, worked in design for a while until I made a personal move to another city, which led me to McKinsey & Company. And I was there for about 8-9 years before leaving recently to launch GrasshopHer. So I left in April of 2020, and that's when GrasshopHer launched.
All right, thank you. So, of course, we're going to go right into GrasshopHer. So can you tell us a little bit more about how you conceived of the idea? And of course, we want to hear all about the name.
Yeah.
I think I saw a little bit about that, and it got me really excited. So
sure.
Share with us how you got the idea, how you came up with the name, and then, we'll take it from there.
Yeah. So, GrasshopHer is really a combination of both personal and professional experiences that I had along my journey. So as I mentioned, was in ballet from a very, very early age, and actually went to an intensive school where most of us, and there were students from all over the world, lived at the school. And what I saw there was, with really young children away from home, without their parents and without that built-in support, was a lot of bullying, eating disorders, racism within the industry. And it was hard for young people without mentors to combat. So, I identified this as an issue very, very early on and thought it would be wonderful to come back in some capacity and just kind of right the wrongs that I saw. So fast forward a couple of years, landed in law. And as I said, it wasn't the right career fit, but I did have a chance to work in legal aid. So I was working for disability and what we called welfare at the time, and really loved work, the social impact of that work. But as I said, decided to move on, and then really, and I'll talk about this in a bit, but didn't have a lot of mentorship in my own career. So when I moved into consulting, I was working for McKinsey and Company, which was an incredibly supportive environment. You build a network of informal and formal mentors along the way. And I saw what mentorship really did for a person, and how helpful it was in navigating careers and landing the next career opportunity. And I actually had the opportunity to build out a mentorship program for mostly women while I was working there, and just loved it so much. And so started studying barriers to mentorship, barriers to access, and really thought about democratizing mentorship and thought about accessibility to mentorship. And that's where GrasshopHer came from. It was just thinking about what is the easiest and fastest and most efficient way to get mentorship to people. And so that's really an online community and an app, and therefore you have GrasshopHer.
I love it. I mean, as somebody who is a product of mentoring and an advocate of mentoring, I have to say a lot of my experience has been having to go find it, like a struggle. So that accessibility that you just mentioned, I think is huge, especially for women by nature. How we're not like really the most forthcoming to look for mentorship opportunities. So thank you.
Absolutely. And just, on that point with women, what I really found is that men from a very early age are built to network, to, it's just a part of the job. Whereas I think you and I had talked about this a little bit before, that women just kind of come into the role and they put their heads down and they work really hard, which is very, very important, but it's not the sum total of what makes a successful career. And part of that is networking, although we don't love that word networking, but I like to think of it as creating connections and fostering and nurturing those connections, and then hopefully creating mentorship relationships. And so that's why I built GrasshopHer, to kind of build out that area where women tend to have issues with access to that network.
All right. Okay, so we're diving into questions about what GrasshopHer really is, but I think we're skipping the question. How did you come up with that name?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't intend to skip it. It is from the 1970s show Kung Fu, and I don't know if there's anyone on the line who's old enough to know that reference, but there's a clip. You can find it on YouTube. So there's a blind monk, and he has his protege, his disciple there, who's just beginning to study. And there is a grasshopper on the ground, and the monk is teaching his disciple how to develop all senses. And the young monk is or the mentee is amazed that this monk can hear the grasshopper, because it's very quiet, and obviously he does not have sight. And so the mentor says, patience, young grasshopper, calls him the mentee grasshopper, you will get there. So we just sort of took that story, that metaphor, and translated it for our platform.
Wow, that's good. I'm going to look it up and find it. But
thank
you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the platform and how it helps women get a leg up in their career?
Yeah. Well, really, again, going back to the idea of networking. And so we make that accessible. It's very much like a dating platform where, you upload your profile, but this time you can look for mentors and mentees. Above and beyond that, we are also building a community and a movement, in a sense, of women who are helping other women, and we're building a community of cheerleaders. And so we, as a community and as a company, really foster the networking, the accessibility to mentors and mentees, and hope that once those relationships are created, opportunities come out of those. And so whether it be your next internship, whether it be your next role, or, a career path that's down the line, we're kind of creating the roots for that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. So you did have a QR code that you wanted the audience to scan. Is this a good time to bring that up now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is for anyone who is obviously not only interested in finding mentors or mentees through GrasshopHer, but we also have some tips and tricks for mentees and, of course, mentors out there in creating the best and the most nurturing relationships. So it's just a little interest form. If you fill it out with your email, we will send it to you. We also have an upcoming opportunity, which I can chat about at the end, on monetizing your skills. So we're launching a new platform, a new product under our platform, and we'll send you some more information about that if you're interested. Thanks so much for that, Lola.
No problem. Thank you. And we have the code. We can take the code off now. I think we'll put it back up in case anyone missed it towards the end. But can you tell us a little bit more about mentorship and networking for you personally? How has these two difficult areas for women, how has it impacted your career journey so far? And how has you really been intentional about finding mentors and networking?
Yeah. So I really did not have a lot of mentorship in my life growing up. Certainly not in the dance world. There was not a lot of it in the design world either. I really felt a lack of it in the law profession as well. And, this was just a personal experience. I know that it is easier for women in law to network now than it was when I was going through the experience. So it wasn't until I moved into consulting that I really found a group of people who supported me. So I think because it was so woven into the fabric of this firm, into their values to nurture their talent, I was able to connect with so many people, both informal and formal mentors, and I really used them to answer any questions that I had, not only about navigating the firm, the company, but also in trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. So I know that the next question is kind of like, how do I go about fostering mentorship or finding mentorship? And I am unabashedly, I have a huge habit of just reaching out to people when I get an itch for something. I am not ashamed, and I unabashedly reach out to people, whether it's through LinkedIn, through its email. Now we have Instagram, and people's emails and good ways to contact them are always on Instagram or other forms of social media. And I just reach out for exploratory conversations. So, and I'm never ever turned down. And I think obviously people do enjoy talking about their own career, but you would be surprised how many people really want to help others find out what's right for them and find out what their next steps are. So that's how I go about it. I just ask for, almost an informational conversation. I want to know about their careers. I want to know what steps they've taken. And usually that gets a foot in the door.
Yeah. No, thank you. So I have another question. So for me personally, I've experienced I'm not shy about reaching out to people,
Yeah.
like you said, asking for mentoring. But one of the things I've experienced is a potential mentor that is not a good fit, and being able to understand the timing of when to back off, because that relationship is not mutual. So what I wanted to ask you is, how do you go about that, making that determination? What qualities do you look for in a mentor? And then as a mentee, if you're interested in mentoring, what do you look for in forming that partnership to support you both?
That's a really good question. And finding the right fit and also knowing when to back off is very, very important. As is knowing when to push something a little bit further if you think that there's a potential, if there's room for development or room for an opportunity. So in a mentor, I think you look for role models. You look for people who are doing something in an industry or an area that is interesting to you. And you also look for people who you admire. And usually if I look for shared values, I'll find that right fit. So now that's just the right fit on paper. I think the next step is finding out if that mentor is truly interested in developing you. So if they're asking questions about your need and what you're looking for, that they're not just interested in talking about themselves, they're interested in talking about you and developing you further. And even better than a mentor is to find a sponsor. And so the definition of a mentor is somebody who's really going to be there as a cheerleader, to listen, and to help you problem solve. But a sponsor is someone who goes one step further. So they will actually create an opportunity for you. So you might find a sponsor at work and you might be in a meeting and they might say, hey, listen, I'm supposed to present the entire thing, but are you interested in co-presenting or presenting, a page of this deck, or, just giving you that leg up for that extra opportunity. So really important to kind of nurture a mentorship relationship kind of beyond that first step and see if that person is the right person to provide opportunities for you. And then finally, a mentor who promotes independence. I think that's really important as well. So they're not just having you tag along, but they're letting you go out on your own to navigate with their help, of course. And then for a mentee, it's really, really important to cultivate the relationship. So do things that let your mentor know that you are thinking about them. So if you see a movie or you read an article or, you come across something on Instagram, shoot it over to them and say, this reminded me of you, just thinking about you, or ask about their family, ask about what they did on the weekend, so that it's not just purely this transactional relationship. You're creating a more holistic relationship with them. The next thing is to always come with an agenda. So always come prepared, and even better, shoot them a few bullet points about what you want to talk about before you're about to have a conversation. Just lets them prepare, lets them reflect a little bit more, and might make it easier for them to be more helpful to you. Setting expectations and goals, I think that's really important. If your mentor knows what you're looking to get out of the conversation, they might kind of connect the dots a little bit faster and be able to help you more efficiently. And then two more things. So always keep your mentor in the loop, like do your homework and tell them about your accomplishments. They're so excited to hear what you've been up to, about your progress, about your development. Just keep them in the loop so that you're constantly in their minds as well. Right. And then finally, this is so important, give back to your mentor. So mentorship relationships can feel like a lot of taking and taking, especially if you're the mentee. there is got to be something that you can help the mentor out. If they're a professor, you can always help them with their office hours, or they might have a little side project, or, there must be a project at work if your mentor is your manager or someone somewhere higher up in the hierarchy. There's always something you can do to give back. So I think that's really important in being a good mentee.
Yeah, those are really great tips. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we're all taking notes. One of the things that I wanted to also ask about is, or maybe debunk the myth around having a single mentor in your life. And that's part of why I'm excited about having a platform that gives you exposure, because I think sometimes people think you have to have one mentor for everything. Yeah. And that's not even realistic.
Not true. That's not true at all. And quite frankly, like, big shoes for a mentor to have to fill. So I think it's really important to develop a network of different people who are at different levels, and peers as well. I think it's so important to have colleagues who are kind of at the same level, or even more junior tenured colleagues who might have a skill set that's different than yours. And so I do think it's really important to build out a group of people around you who can support you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. We have a question from Pooja. Yeah. How can one be proactive or on top of follow-ups without being too pushy? Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. How can you, sort of be intentional and follow up on your potential mentors without being too pushy? How can you balance the two?
Listen, I don't think there's anything really to being too pushy. I mean, I think it's just about being diligent, but I think, just watch your language, watch your tone, and of course, watch the frequency with which you're reaching out. But, I don't think there's anything wrong with being present and being top of someone's mind. And you do that by reaching out and being, proactive about your conversations and about your outreach. So, I think you can just kind of write emails, or I'm trying to think, we mostly communicate by emails, text these days, social media. And of course, in a virtual world, you're not just popping into someone's office. So, I think virtual messages are really important. And like I said, you can weave in some other information. So not just asking for what you want, but also weaving in information about what made you think about reaching out to this mentor again. So was it something that you saw on the news? Was it something that you read? Was it something that you've really been kind of deliberating about in your mind about your next move? So as much context as possible is really helpful. And then, as I said, offer to give back, offer to do something for them, so that it becomes a more equal relationship.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. So I know GrasshopHer is pretty early on, but do you have anything in the works? What's next? What's coming up?
Yeah,
you can share with us?
We do have something in the works. We're actually launching a more intentional mentorship match platform where you can actually monetize your skills. So even if you think of yourself as a traditional mentee, there must be skills there that you can monetize. And so what we're creating is a little, micro community or economy of women supporting women. And then hopefully it becomes this macro economy. But we're about to launch, so probably November 1st. And that's why I put up that QR code. So if anyone's interested in monetizing their skills, if they know how to help a high school student with building out their resume or building out their volunteer experience, or if you know how to help someone get an internship, you can be a mentor yourself. I'm sure there are lots of skills that you've developed, throughout your work experience that you can relay to someone else. So hopefully this platform helps you do that and make money doing it.
I know. So yeah, we're definitely going to bring back the QR code now that we heard about the monetization piece.
Yeah.
And in case you missed it, we'll bring it up again. And as you wrap up, one of the things I wanted you to just speak on is knowing when to transition. So we're talking about having multiple mentors. Sometimes you outgrow a mentor. And, you know, knowing how to cut the cords if a relationship has sort of exhausted the value and move on to another one. Is that built into your platform? Are there tips for that?
Absolutely. I think the best way to do it is actually to lean on that mentor and say, hey, listen, there's another skill or an area of interest that I'm looking to develop out. Do you know somebody else who can help me? Like, is there someone in your network that you can put me in touch with? So, and even if you've exhausted that relationship, you can still nurture it and keep it alive. You don't have to go cold turkey and sort of cut that person off. Keep in touch with them. You never know what will come up, but definitely ask them if they know of anyone else who can help develop your skills.
I love it. Thank you so much. This has been great. Lots of takeaways, lots of notes. We really appreciate you being on here and sharing your insights, and we're looking forward to learning more about GrasshopHer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thank you to both of you, Heather and Lola. That was a really great chat. I cannot wait to see how far GrasshopHer is able to go. I'm really excited to check it out for myself. So thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you.